And I've had a few times that are like this, that I have seen something of this dynamic happen in a short time frame. But there was about a 6-month period of time when I was 16, roughly 17, when I preached my very first sermon in church. I remember speaking in church, and that was quite a thing that I've shared at different times here. But it also was a path for me where I was just all of a sudden just running after God like never before. It actually started really at a festival that I went to, and started at actually a church service, at a sermon that I heard someone preach. And this preacher spoke to me or spoke to the congregation, but it really spoke to me. And I just jumped out of my seat and responded to the altar call. And then that started me on the 6-month journey of just pursuing God hardcore. I mean, I was fasting, I was praying, I was going to the gym. I lost about 75 pounds in 6 months. I was praying consistently. I preached my very first sermon during that time in what was considered adult church versus kids church, and just saw so many dynamic things take place during that 6 months. And I would say it was one of my greatest times of spiritual growth. You know, at one point in time I said it was my greatest time, but I've had great times since then. So I now know how to reproduce that, so to speak. And that's kind of what we're talking about when we jump into verse 15 here of Philippians chapter 3. It starts out by saying this, is therefore, and I always say therefore is therefore for a reason. And you go back to what was talked about right before that, where Paul is talking about we press towards a prize of the upward call of God in Christ Jesus. And he's talking a lot about the glorified body and reaching towards that, the full redemption of what Christ has yet to do, and how we're still pressing on. And even though it said earlier, for me to live is Christ, to die is gain, he's also saying, man, I press on, I'm keeping going toward the upward call. He says, therefore, all right, therefore, let as many as are mature have this mind, and if anything you think otherwise, God will reveal even this to you. Nevertheless, to the degree that we have already attained, let us walk by the same rule, let us be of the same mind. And here you see it again, the same mind. You hear that repeated over and over and over again. There's a few words that Paul repeats in Philippians. You'll see the word rejoice, but you'll see the word same mind, one mind, like-mindedness, over and over and over again. And it's really a call to unity for the church in Philippi. He's really calling them to come together, and he has such affection for them. You know, in other churches, man, he comes against the divisiveness in other churches really hard. But here in the church of Philippi, he does it with a great affection and love and an undercurrent that you might not even notice on the outside. But nonetheless, he comes here. And so now he says here very specifically, as many as are mature, have this mind. Again, the word mind right there in verse 15 and then again 16. And if anything you think otherwise, God will reveal even this to you. So he's like, look, if you think you know better than me on this regard, then God's going to show you that you don't know better than me, right?